All right, so today we're going deep into the Bitcoin rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into the Bitcoin white paper.
All right.
Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
Okay.
The document that started it all.
It did.
You've probably heard about Bitcoin.
Heard of it.
This paper, published back in 2008 by the mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto,
Right.
lays out the foundation for this whole revolutionary technology.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some abstract tech idea.
Yeah.
You know, Satoshi clearly identified a problem
Right.
with the way that we handle money online,
Hmm.
especially in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis,
Yeah.
when trust in institutions was at an all-time low.
Yeah, it was like, hey, what if we could create a system where we don't need banks or governments to manage our money?
Yeah,
A pretty radical idea, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
The white paper points out that traditional online payment systems have a lot of limitations. You have transaction fees that can eat into your money,
Right.
often minimum transaction amounts.
Yeah.
And there's always the risk of fraud.
That's right.
And plus, you're constantly relying on third parties to handle your transactions.
And even good old-fashioned cash, while it has its advantages, can't really be used online.
Nope.
So Bitcoin tries to combine the best of both worlds, creating a digital form of money
Right.
that's secure,
Secure,
private,
private.
and accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
That's the dream.
Right.
But this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
How do you actually create a system like that?
Yeah.
A system that's decentralized,
Mm-hmm.
secure,
Right.
and can't be manipulated.
Yeah.
The white paper dives deep into the technical nuts and bolts
Of
of
what?
how Bitcoin achieves this.
All right.
And it all starts with cryptography.
Okay, so
Cryptography.
It sounds complicated,
Yeah.
but essentially it's the science of secure communication.
It-
So how does that apply to something like Bitcoin?
Well, imagine each Bitcoin transaction as a chain of digital signatures.
Okay.
It's like passing a sealed envelope from one person to the next,
Right.
where each person adds their signature
Okay.
to verify that they received it and then passed it on.
So you've got this record of who owned what Bitcoin and when,
Right.
all secured with cryptography.
That's right.
But what's stopping someone from, like, creating a copy of that sealed envelope and spending the same Bitcoin twice?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's the classic double spending problem
Right.
that any digital currency has to solve.
Yeah.
The white paper's answer is brilliant.
Okay.
A decentralized timestamp server.
Okay.
Essentially, it's a public ledger called the blockchain
Right.
that records every single Bitcoin transaction.
Okay.
And this ledger is maintained not by a single entity, but by a network of computers all over the world.
So instead of relying on a bank to track your transactions,
Yes.
you've got this massive distributed network doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to ensure that everyone agrees on the order of transactions, Bitcoin uses something called proof of work.
Proof of work.
It's a system where computers on the network called miners compete to solve complex mathematical problems.
Wait, so Bitcoin is based on some sort of giant math competition?
In a way, yes.
Wow.
The first miner to solve the problem
Yeah.
gets to add a new block of transactions to the blockchain,
Okay.
and they get rewarded with newly created Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
This is what people refer to as mining.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So by tying the creation of new Bitcoins to this computationally intensive process, it makes it incredibly difficult for anyone to manipulate the system
Right.
because they'd have to control a majority of the computing power on the network.
You got it.
Yeah.
The white paper goes into great detail explaining how the difficulty of these mathematical problems automatically adjusts based on the total computing power on the network, ensuring that new blocks are added at a relatively steady pace.
But this raises a question.
Okay.
What about the energy consumption? Having all these computers constantly crunching numbers
Yeah.
must require a tremendous amount of electricity, right?
That's one of the big debates around Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Its environmental impact.
Right.
The white paper doesn't address this directly,
Okay.
but it acknowledges that computational power is a resource being used in the process.
Okay.
Just like gold miners use resources to extract gold from the ground.
So there's a trade-off.
There is.
You get a system that's incredibly secure and decentralized,
You do?
but it comes at an energy cost. It's something to consider for sure,
Yeah,
especially as Bitcoin becomes more widely adopted.
for sure.
Now let's talk about another aspect. Privacy.
Okay.
If all transactions are recorded on a public ledger,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean there's no privacy in Bitcoin?
Well, it's actually more nuanced than that. The white paper talks about how Bitcoin balances transparency and anonymity.
Okay.
The transactions themselves are public.
Right.
But the identities of the people involved are represented by anonymous public keys.
So it's like seeing the flow of money,
Yes,
but not knowing who's behind it.
exactly.
Kind of like knowing that a stock was traded,
Yes,
but not knowing who bought or sold it.
that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
The white paper delves into how the pseudonymous system allows for a certain level of privacy while maintaining the transparency needed for a secure and auditable financial system.
Okay, that's really interesting.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
But there's still so much to unpack.
So much.
We need to talk about the security of the system, the potential for an inflation-free future,
Definitely.
and the overall impact of this revolutionary technology.
Absolutely.
Let's take a quick breather, and when we come back, we'll dive even deeper into the world of Bitcoin.
Sounds good. One of the things that really struck me when I first read the white paper was the idea of Gitcoin potentially becoming inflation-free.
Okay.
It's a concept that challenges the way we traditionally think about money.
So let's break this down.
Okay.
Most currencies experience inflation, meaning their value decreases over time.
Right.
But the Bitcoin white paper suggests a system where that might not happen.
Exactly. In most economic systems, you see central banks can just print more money, which can lead to inflation.
Of course.
Bitcoin, however, has a fixed supply.
Okay.
Only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist.
Wow.
And the white paper suggests that eventually the system could transition entirely to transaction fees as the primary incentive for miners.
So instead of getting rewarded with new Gitcoins, miners would earn fees for processing transactions.
Yes.
Like they'd be running a decentralized payment network.
Exactly.
Getting paid for their services.
That's the idea. Now, this raises a lot of questions about how such a system would work in practice.
Right.
Would it make Bitcoin more stable? Would it impact its adoption as a currency?
Right.
These are all things that economists are still debating today.
It's fascinating to think about a world where a currency's value is tied directly to its utility as a payment network.
Yeah.
Not to any government's monetary policy.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the network itself.
Okay.
The white paper emphasizes the decentralized nature of Bitcoin.
Yes.
What does that mean in practical terms?
Think of it this way.
Okay.
In a traditional financial system, you have central authorities like banks or governments controlling the flow of money.
Right.
With Bitcoin, there's no single point of control. The network is made up of thousands of computers all over the world, all working together to maintain the blockchain.
So if one computer goes down or even a whole bunch of computers, the network can still keep running.
Exactly. The white paper actually highlights this as a key feature.
Oh, wow.
Describing a network where nodes can join and leave freely, this makes Bitcoin incredibly resilient to attacks or censorship.
How so?
Because there's no single entity that can be targeted or shut down.
It almost sounds like a digital version of those self-healing networks they use in the military.
Right.
Even if part of the network gets damaged, the rest can keep functioning.
Exactly.
But doesn't this create challenges when it comes to things like regulation?
Uh-huh.
Governments like to have control, right?
That's a major point of contention.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's decentralized nature challenges traditional ideas of financial governance.
Right.
Some see this as a positive, allowing for more individual freedom and autonomy.
Okay.
Others worry about the lack of oversight and the potential for illicit activities.
It's like a Wild West of finance where the rules are still being written.
Yeah.
This brings up another question that I've always wondered about.
Okay.
If there's no central authority, how can you be sure that the system is secure? How do you know that someone can't just hack the network and steal everyone's Bitcoins?
This is where the beauty of the white paper's design comes in.
Okay.
The combination of cryptography, the proof-of-work system, and the decentralized network creates a system that's incredibly secure.
But I've heard about things like 51% attacks.
Yeah.
Where someone with enough computing power could theoretically take control of the network.
Right.
Is that a realistic concern?
The white paper does acknowledge that risk.
Okay.
But it argues that as the network grows, the amount of computing power needed to launch such an attack becomes astronomical.
Really?
We're talking billions of dollars worth of hardware and electricity.
So the bigger the network gets, the more secure it becomes.
Yes.
Kind of like a digital fortress where the walls get higher and stronger over time.
Exactly.
It's fascinating how the white paper anticipated many of the challenges and criticisms that Bitcoin faces today.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the depth of thought that went into this document. But it also highlights how Bitcoin is more than just a technology. It's a set of ideas, a philosophy about money, trust, and power.
And that philosophy is challenging a lot of long-held assumptions about how our financial systems work.
Absolutely.
It's like we're witnessing the birth of a new paradigm.
It is.
And the white paper is the blueprint.
The blueprint, yeah.
But it's important to remember that this blueprint is open to interpretation.
Right.
And there are many different perspectives on what Bitcoin represents and what its ultimate impact will be.
Very true.
So we've spent this deep dive exploring the Bitcoin white paper.
We have.
Unpacking its technical brilliance.
Yeah.
And the philosophical questions it raises.
It really does raise a lot of questions.
Yeah, but let's bring it back down to earth for a moment.
Okay.
What does all of this mean for the average person?
That's the crucial question, isn't it?
Yeah, is this just something for, like, tech-savvy folks?
Right.
Or is there something here for everyone?
Well, the beauty of it is that you don't need to be a cryptography expert to use and benefit from Bitcoin.
Okay.
We're already seeing its practical applications.
Like what?
Well, like in areas like remittances,
Okay.
where people can send money across borders quickly and cheaply.
Yeah, I've even heard about people using Bitcoin for micropayments. Things like tipping content creators online or buying a cup of coffee.
Right.
Transactions that would have been too small or expensive to process using traditional methods.
Exactly. It opens up a whole new realm of possibilities.
It does.
And the white paper hinted at this,
Yeah.
suggesting that Bitcoin could revolutionize not just finance,
Wow.
but potentially any system that relies on trusted intermediaries.
It's like the white paper was a seed.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the branches of that tree growing in all sorts of unexpected directions.
It really is incredible.
Yeah, but with any new technology, there are risks and challenges.
Oh, for sure.
What are some of the things people should be aware of?
Well, we've touched on the energy consumption of Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
And that's a valid concern.
Right.
There are also questions about scalability,
Right.
how well the network can handle a large number of transactions as adoption grows.
Makes sense.
And of course, there's the regulatory landscape, which is still evolving.
So it's not all sunshine and roses.
No, it's not.
It's important for people to do their homework.
Yes,
Understand both the potential and the pitfalls before jumping in head first.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The white paper itself encourages critical thinking and skepticism. Satoshi wasn't presenting Bitcoin as a perfect solution,
Okay.
but rather as an experiment,
Right.
an invitation to explore a new way of doing things.
So for our listeners who are intrigued by all of this,
Yeah.
what would you recommend as a next step? Should they all rush out and buy Bitcoin?
I wouldn't advise anyone to make any financial decisions based on what they hear on a podcast.
Of course, of course.
But if you're genuinely interested, the first step is to go to the source.
Okay.
Read the Bitcoin white paper yourself. It's freely available online.
Okay.
And while it can be a bit technical at times,
Right.
it's worth the effort to understand the foundational ideas.
It's like we've been saying throughout this deep dive.
Yeah.
The white paper is more than just a technical document.
It is.
It's a philosophical treatise on the nature of money and trust.
It really is.
It challenges us to rethink the systems we rely on.
And beyond the white paper, there are tons of resources out there.
Oh, yeah.
Books, articles, online communities. Just remember to be discerning.
Right.
Question everything and form your own conclusions.
That's the beauty of this space.
It is.
It's constantly evolving, and it invites everyone to participate in the conversation
Absolutely.
to shape the future of this technology.
The Bitcoin white paper was like opening a door to a whole new world.
It was.
A world where the rules are still being written.
Right.
It's a world full of possibilities, challenges, and opportunities.
Yeah.
It's up to each of us to explore this world, to engage with its complexities, and to decide what role, if any, Bitcoin will play in our lives.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
It is.
So to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to dive into the Bitcoin rabbit hole.
Yes.
Explore the white paper and keep those critical thinking caps on.
Keep thinking.
The future of finance might be unfolding right before our eyes.
It might be.
And it's a fascinating journey to be a part of.
It is.